Hey guys, Jonah here once again, back for a beer review, back for a no, it's not supermarket Sunday. It's a normal Sunday, but it's a special beer because I'm doing the last special edition from the Second Home series. If it will focus, hopefully it will. There we go, Vocation special edition, and this is called Big Daddy Galaxy Simcoe and Mosaic IPA. At 6.5 in a reasonably big can, which I like. It's almost a pint. And this scene is of Halifax, the town up in East Riding, I believe. And let's do this. So Mia Hendroka is the artist behind the bars that they have. She's from Kenya and then in now lives in Manchester. But I think these are quite cool, and these are on all of the cans, which was really good. Now, some of you might think, what the hell does Big Daddy mean, especially if you're younger? But I remember who it was. And if you read in here, famous wrestler Big Daddy. He comes from Halifax and found fame wrestling in Alexandra Hall across from our very own Vocation pub, basically, or bar. Our Halifax special is big as the local legend. Is based on and sure to live for you in a hoppy headlock. My God, it's easy for me to say, eh? And the Second Home series, Halifax this time, it's about basically the people, communities, etc., etc., making Vocation a second home to celebrate, etc., etc. Okay, and as I said, it comes with Galaxy Simcoe and Mosaic. So this is going to be a real hoppy bad boy, and I'm really looking forward to this one. Actually, I really love Vocation beers, as you know, dear viewer. We do have some wheat and oats in there. I didn't really need to check. I knew there would be that kind of stuff in there. So yeah, fantastic. Big Daddy, who did he wrestled people like the Giant Haystacks. You remember him, and Brian Glover was another one who went on to do films and stuff. But yeah, from up north. Brilliant northern, proper old school northern English wrestling back in I think probably started 50s, 60s, definitely 70s, which is when I picked it up, and they're still kind of doing it today. Not as good as the American craziness, the production, but these guys did it in village halls and all sorts of places. In fact, they said that Alexandra Hall, which I believe, oh, it's gone out of focus. Anyway, it's one of these buildings in this lovely photo. Right, let's get this into. I've got a branded Vocation glass, of course I have, but I'm not going to use that little one again because this is a big can. It's not a 330, this is a 440, my dears. So we're going for the full-on V for Vendetta, or in this case, V for Vocation. And we'll see what we get. So this is an IPA. I'm expecting it to be a new style hoppy bad boy. There we go. Boom. There we go. Let's get that in focus at the very least. Bring that back, turn it back, something like that. And then a smile. And we're on our way. Oh, I should do the finger first. The finger test. Well, say that's a 3/4 finger head. It's pretty good. Lovely, fluffy white bubbles. Hopefully they'll be hanging around. Look at that. That's amazing. For a while. Is it going to focus? There we go. Look at those bubbles. Nice, small, neat. Boom. Lovely bubbles. I believe this is I'm not sure. I think this is an etch glass. So you can see that the carbonation of this beer is not full on. Like, it's not a macro lager kind of fizzy bad boy thing. But you never know. Lovely colour, by the way, as well. Look at that. proper pale ale, or IPA in this case. Colour 6.5%. I have got no problem calling this an IPA at all. If it's 3%, is it an IPA? Don't know. Quite a mild, yeah, quite a mild fruity aroma. Tropical fruits. Not much. Yeah, what did it say on the back here? Juicy, punchy, and hoppy. We've got Mosaic and we've got Simcoe in there, so it should have a bit of juiciness to it as well. But the aroma's not giving too much away. Right, before I dive in, as I usually say, if you've watched any of my videos, if you haven't subscribed, why not? Please do so. It really does help me out. And what does especially help out the channel is clicking like. So if you could do that now, that would be absolutely fantastic. And why not leave a comment below? I'm usually pretty good at getting back to them. We'll dive in for a well-needed beer. Cheers, guys. Oh, interesting. So it's not as full on as I was kind of expecting. What I can tell is um, there's a little bit of a kind of hot punch at the beginning, but not as much as I'd thought. I think maybe the carbon dioxide was kind of bursting on my tongue, and it kind of distracts a little bit from the initial flavour. Hopefully, I'll get that as I go down the drink. But there's a lovely, smooth creaminess to this beer. There's also, and this is probably coming from the Simcoe, there is a bit of that juiciness, and it's mixing lovely well with the creaminess of the wheat and the oats. I have to say, Simcoe is not my favourite hop. If it was my personal choice, um, but I think it works really well when you've got wheat and oats in your beer because it turns it into a creamy kind of. I've called it lassi before, which is that kind of Indian yogurty kind of. Sometimes you can have it as a drink, but sometimes you have it as like an ice cream, um, frozen yogurt. How about that? A fruity frozen yogurt. So that's kind of what we've got going on here. But the flavour is not full on. It's surprisingly mellow for a kind of new style brewery like Vocation. Because it's Big Daddy, it's wrestling, it's I was expecting a massive big punch in the face. But I'm not getting that. It's very, very mellow. I am getting some tropical notes though. And then the aftertaste is really long, smooth, creamy, really nice. I think they could have dialed the hops up a little bit more, to be honest. And that 6.5 is hidden surprisingly well. Let's see where we get to next. Oh, yeah, there's that bitterness, spiciness, zestiness, but very quickly goes into that creamy kind of thing. Interesting. We have got on my second sip that kind of zestiness, like a grapefruitiness, that kind of thing is hanging around slightly more than it was initially. Um, really nice and clean. And I've just noticed I've framed the Vocation moniker within two really decent tide lines of head. I think that's fantastic. Really, really good. It's like splitting the V if it was a Guinness and it's splitting the G. Well carbonated. Pardon me, dear viewer. And yeah, I've kind of framed the V of vocation there, which is really interesting. I could have done it that way around and definitely split the V, but that's a massive V, so that would not be much of a challenge, to be honest. Um, and I'll give you a little secret with Guinness: three three swallows, and you'll hit the G. That's my hint to you guys if you drink Guinness. It's you have to drink surprisingly more than you'd think to start with to hit that G right on the money. And for me, three kind of gulps, three swallows. Okay. I'm loving this. This is smooth as a baby's bum. Let's see what I get from my third. Wow. And I've drunk that reasonably quickly too. Yeah, zestiness up front, but not massively so. Then it goes into smoothness. You've got your tropical kind of tropically juicy fruits. Got that Simcoe juiciness going on as well. Smooth, not so creamy. Interesting. Now that I've worked my way down the glass, it's not as creamy tasting as it was to start with, which is interesting because sometimes you get a really hoppy beer to start with and then it goes into something different. The hops are kind of building up on me, which is unusual for my palate because usually the hops, as soon as they touch my taste buds, they fire their synapses to my brain. Um, and once they fired, it takes a while for them to kind of regen, shall we say, and then yeah, then they can fire a second time. With this beer, I kind of got a lot more of the hoppiness as I went down the glass. Interesting. Or maybe some of it had started to settle a little bit. I've spoken about this before as well, especially when you're drinking, pardon me, older, especially cans, especially cans that haven't been filtered, because sometimes the particulates drop to the bottom, and then when you pour it out again, they drop to the bottom of the glass. Um, Reasonably hazy, but not super hazy. So hopefully, some of those particulates will have gone right to the bottom. So this might be the hoppiest of them all. Um, totally different if you're drinking either from a draft, although draft is kind of like a big can. You could think of it that way, but often and most of the time they're pulled up from the bottom. So you are getting that stuff first. If that makes sense. Um, Whereas it's different if you pour a single can. Cask conditioned beers, they can be orientated in multiple different ways, sometimes on their side, sometimes standing up, that kind of stuff. Usually on their side, actually. But you have to wait until a little bit settles out. So good pubs will, put their casks up onto their stands. Can't remember what they're called. Is it not Oki? That's starts, isn't it? What are those things called? Sort of they're cradles. I don't know what the real name. There is a name, but I'm unaware of the name. And then you leave it for a couple of days just to settle everything and make it nice and bright. With new style things, especially hazies, you don't want to do that because you want a hazy bad boy. So maybe draft is good for that kind of thing. And then sometimes you get really hazy beers, and it doesn't matter what you do with the keg, upside down, up on your shoulder, whatever, it's going to come out thick and juicy. This one is hazy, but not thick. It's not like a milkshake IPA, put it that way. I'm talking nonsense. You guys need to go. So I'm going to finish this off. Let's see what we get from the last sip. No, it's much more of the same. I thought we'd get something a bit more hoppy, but no, really. really nice, really clean. Surprisingly not hoppy, which is cool. But let's have a look at the foam on the side of the glass, the lacing, lace watching. Wow, some proper trippy kind of patterns there, sort of dragons and all sorts of weird stuff. But those lines, that line from the top is still there, still pretty solid, amazingly good. So there we go. That is the last one, at least for now, of the Vocation Special Edition Second Home series. This one's the Halifax one. I've tried 3 out of the 4 now. The only one I haven't got because I couldn't get hold of was the Sheffield one. So if anyone knows where I could get the Sheffield one from to make the whole set, let me know. I'd be very interested to try that one. Anyway, this has been Uncle Jonah trying fantastic special edition beers, this time from Vocation. And I can honestly say, even though that tea one was a bit weird, you could get, if you see any of these beers, the Second Home series, why not pick them up? Unless they're ridiculously expensive, but they shouldn't be, because they're really, really good beers. Big Daddy, 6.5% beer. Why wouldn't you get one of those? It's not superbly hoppy, so if you're a hophead, I can see why you might ignore this one, perhaps, but it's a really nice, smooth beer and pretty strong at that. So I think you'd be a fool not to pick one of these up if you see it. This has been Uncle Jonah. Oh, am I going to belch again? Oh, I'm going to hold that one in until later on, dear viewer. This has been Uncle Jonah. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and remember, I'll be back with more beer reviews real soon.